It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing the East Texas Baptist head tennis coach, Coach Drew Lambert. How are you doing today?
Doing well, and yourself?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college tennis?
I mean, really, I kind of took a sabbatical after playing high school tennis. I worked in the oil field for about 2 years, and then tennis was kind of a family sport. So just being around my cousins and everything, still playing the game, just got back into it and had a coaching colleague from Dallas Baptist who was formerly at Schreiner University, Wade Morgan, who kind of stoked that fire in me again. So kind of created the bug, and just from there, just got the opportunity and just ran with it basically.
How was that experience like going to Howard Payne and getting to play collegiate tennis there?
As a person that really, I was recruited by two or three different schools, really didn't have, all of the offers that a bunch of other players might have. It was a great experience just getting to actually play again, coming off of a 2 year sabbatical, not really having results that somebody can recruit myself off of. I had a lot of fun. I got to play number one doubles and two singles my sophomore year, all the way through my senior year. So just the opportunity to get to play high in the lineup was great. Really, helped me kind of mature really fast on the tennis court. So I had a lot of fun.
What was it like getting to represent a school like Howard Payne in tennis?
I mean, especially within the conference that we have, it was just a great experience where you like meet a bunch of different people. And then tennis is such a small sport, so they'll hear about that we played at Howard Payne, and they knew somebody that I knew from Howard Payne, and I knew somebody that they went to high school with. So it basically just felt like one big family when I played there.
What were some of your biggest accomplishments on the collegiate side playing tennis?
Well, that's a pretty short list. My sophomore year, unfortunately, our coach retired, and so it kind of went into one of those things where we had to play with a lot of people from other sports. So that's one of the biggest reasons that I had to play so high in the lineup, is because we had a lot of guys that played high school tennis, but they were playing soccer or baseball or basketball in college, and so still got to play high in the lineup. So that's probably one of the biggest things for me.
What was that like getting to be an instructor for John Newkin's ranch?
As a college student, being around a ton of other college tennis players at every level. I mean, there's Division I guys, there was Division II, JUCO, NAI. That was just fun because you get to play with a lot of different people, especially now looking back at it from a professionalism standpoint. You just There's a lot of different ways to coach tennis, so that really kind of helped round out my coaching game. I got some pointers on, the sandwich method, how you, start off with something that somebody did that was great, kind of put the instruction there in the middle. So kind of helped me, have a groundwork of how to start coaching tennis.
How is that like obviously getting to work a summer camp for Texas A&M's tennis program?
Honestly, that's one of the biggest things that I still to this day do each summer. The coaches there, I mean, all-time greats like Bob McKinley, Steve Denton, Mark Weaver, Jordan Zabu, who played on the tennis team there. Just pretty big names when it comes to tennis. Just learning from them, and it was one of those things where I'm a guy that played low level Division III tennis, but they didn't treat me like that. They treated me like I was just another professional. So, you kind of join a fraternity of tennis coaches, and they still talk to me. I still talk to them on a regular basis, just trying to, keep those connections alive, because having them on my resume is just a huge thing for me. So it's still one of those things that I enjoy each summer.
Of course, after working for the tennis camp, what was it like first coming to East Texas Baptist and becoming the assistant coach?
That was really something that I was kind of blindsided with. I originally had the opportunity to be the assistant coach at Shriner under Wade, Morgan's former assistant. And I got a call literally the morning of the interview. And Wade's like, don't take the job yet. The head coach at East Texas Baptist is looking for a grad assistant. I told him about you. You could have a different opportunity there in terms of um, not just the ability to get a master's, but the level of the tennis program. The women had just won the American Southwest Conference tournament. So having somebody that had a championship caliber, my former boss was top 500 in the world in doubles. So it was kind of like, do you go be an assistant coach under somebody that really hasn't had the experience, or do you go be an assistant coach for somebody that's 40 years into the game? They have done it at a high level, won several championships, whether that be college, high school, ATP, all those. So it was really a no-brainer for me to take the ETBU position over the Shriner position just for how much I would learn in that process.
What were some of the things that you learned as assistant coach while being the assistant coach?
One of the big things that Jeff Bramlett, who's now at Concordia, really taught me was you got to know your players' strengths and weaknesses and have them really use their strengths a lot. And then another big one was give them one piece of instruction at a time. You can't make things too convoluted, otherwise they won't be able to really hear what the most important thing is. And then just the work ethic, being able to make sure that everybody plays at their highest level, even during practice, is really what's going to help us on game day.
What was that feeling like for you getting promoted to become the head coach from your time as the assistant coach?
It's really humbling because, again, coming from being a pretty low level tennis player in the same conference to now having the opportunity to lead one of the best programs in the conference, it's kind of like, full circle. You don't play tennis for 2 years, then you go into playing really, I would say low level to mid level tennis, and then you get a chance to be at one of the top teams. And then, I'm from East Texas. I grew up in Pittsburgh, Texas, and graduated there. So just the opportunity to be, in the same backyard, know all the different schools around here to recruit from. It's just pretty, like I said, it's a blessing to be in the area and just to get that shot.
Of course, how was that experience like growing up from East Texas and now getting to be the head tennis coach for East Texas Baptist?
In East Texas and Texas as a whole, football is king, baseball is second, and tennis is one of those kind of minor sports that, unfortunately, there's not every school has a full tennis team or a full tennis coach. So I think I was one of 3 tennis players in my high school, and so coming from that background, and not having a ton of, I would say, not support, but like structure around the tennis program. Going to see, there's actually schools in our area that have really successful tennis programs. You just start to see the different ways that teams are run and the different support systems. So now, having that in my back pocket, obviously, what schools to recruit from, okay, this is a football school, this is a tennis school, and those types of things. So again, being from the area, people know a little bit about who I am. They know where I grew up. And so it just helps give that personal connection to everything.
After getting announced as the head coach in 2021, what was that feeling like taking over the program and running it as your own?
You know, uh, Again, it's really something that when you go from being an assistant to being a head coach, the transition from doing one ways to doing it your own way, it's really not an overnight thing. Especially as a first year head coach, you still kind of are doing a lot of the different things that you did as an assistant as far as structure. Now in year 3, I mean, there's things that I do way different than I would do as an assistant coach. and it's just a day-to-day thing where you have a perspective on how you used to do things. You'll have different players that have you come in, have different knowledge that they've shared. They're at a high level program. So again, the people you're around, the coaches you're around, you learn things new every day. And if you stay the same, it's just going to be insanity. So it's just going to want to be evolving the whole time. So,
What has it been like as a head coach getting to build the coaching staff around you and the players around you?
it's again the people on the team and the people in the coaching staff are everything. That's really how the program succeeds, is the personality. So that's been one of our biggest and my biggest priorities, is just to recruit the right people, not necessarily the best tennis players, but the tennis players that are going to come in, be humble, really work within our system, just to make sure everything's cohesive. And then I've been really blessed to have some great graduate assistants. We had one of the best players in our entire conference, who came from McMurray, who had just a great playing career, a lot of tennis camp knowledge and stuff like that. I had a Division II player come be our women's assistant, and she was like a second mother for a lot of girls on the team. Really helped me in that aspect, because at the end of the day, when you're coaching women's tennis and men's tennis, they're two different sides of the same ball. So again, I've been really blessed. And then we've had two assistant coaches that are now head coaches within Division III. So again, they're head coaches for a reason. They have a lot of knowledge. So it's just been a blessing for me to have so many different people impact me and kind of pour into what this program is. And then you see that when they go to their own programs as well.
As a head coach, what is that like balancing two different programs, having a men's tennis program and a women's tennis program at the school?
Each year is different. As a first year head coach, really, I divided the teams. When I was an assistant, we would do practices all together. I just felt like, I wanted to spend enough time with the men and women in different ways to have effective coaching. Um, and so this year, one thing that's different is our teams are so good that I'm able to have them all together again. And it helps the women's team with the energy aspect. When the guys play the girls, they have to play a lot smarter, because, the women, they make you play smart. They'll get tons of balls in play. The men, sometimes it's, who's going to hit the first winner. So there's a trade-off with both sides, and it's just a lot of fun. Obviously going from a men's court to a women's court, you have to switch your mindset. Some of the women want a really strong and stern type of coaching. Some of the men really just need to talk through things, which is kind of a flip of the coin, which you would think on the other side of that. So again, it's what court am I going to? What person am I going to? How am I going to use what their tick is to help them the best? And it's really just what's finding best for each person on the team.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you built for the East Texas Baptist tennis program?
Our culture is something that has evolved. Right now, I truly believe that we have one big family. Now, families do disagree sometimes, but one of the things that I'm proud of is that a lot of our players, even when they have a disagreement, they're going to fight for their teammates no matter what. And then after that, if they have a disagreement, they're going to talk about it like adults and deal with it. And then from, just a tennis side, there's a lot of energy on the court. Everybody wants to do very well on the court during matches. So they expect each other to give their absolute best in practice, because you practice like you play and you play like you practice. And so that's really one thing where our culture is, we have a chip on our shoulder. We want to do well. And the only way that we're going to do that is to just give maximum effort in practice.
Who are some of the teams in your conference that you compete against each week?
So right now, with us being in the ASC conference, we have 6 schools. It's us, Laterno, UT Dallas, Concordia, McMurray, Schreiner is in the SCAC, Texas Lutheran's in the SCAC, which is the other D3 conference. We just got done with a St. Thomas weekend where we played a team in Houston, Austin College, pretty much every Division III team within our entire region. We also went to Oregon last year, played some teams in Oregon. We're going to go to South Carolina this year, play some Division III teams from the Midwest. So for us, it's really not just within our conference. We want to be able to travel nationally. And that's also one of the big designs for our program, is not just to be a mid-level team. We want to be in that national spotlight, be in the regional and national rankings as well. So that's why, as a coach, I want to get the best competition and exposure for our athletes.
What does a home tennis match look like for East Texas?
For us, with us having 53% athletes on campus, it's really nice that we'll get some athletes from other sports, like the football players, basketball players, volleyball players will come watch. Um, Pretty typical dual match. You'll get, 3 lines of doubles each. Most of the time we're having a 4th line of doubles. So, just trying to build the energy off of that doubles point is a big thing. So, trying to get momentum, stay active in the doubles point. And then, just rolling from the doubles point to singles and just trying to keep the momentum hot is a big thing for us.
Of course, what does a typical match look like at home versus going away?
For us, our big emphasis is to make it just like a home match, even if we are going away. One of the things I always preach is, if somebody's on court 1, the person on court 8 should be able to hear them, and vice versa. And the people off the court should be able to be heard by every person that's on court. So we don't want any match to feel different. Now, some of the universities that we play at, they have a really good fan base, and so they may have 50 people to 100 people out there watching. And so their side may be a little bit louder, but we're still going to focus on our own energy and just stay on our own track, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. What does that recruitment process look like for those prospective athletes looking to go into a sport like tennis?
It's pretty similar across the board. Obviously, you want to reach out to coaches. For me, I literally reached out to every coach in Texas. You just got to get as many coaches to talk to you as possible. The other big part is, at the end of the day, you're going to college to get a degree. So you got to find the schools that have your specific major degree plan. And then the other big part within tennis is, you want to be on a team that you know that you're going to play on. And there are a lot of teams that they'll have 15 to 20 people on a team, and there's only so many starting spots. So that's part of the process when looking at schools. You want to ask how many people are on your roster, how many people each play each week. And so that's one of the things that I always tell recruits, ask the coaches the hard questions. The ones that are worth their weight are going to answer those and be truthful to you. And you're also going to be able to talk to their players, and their players can tell you that what they say is true. So for me, I went to a team that had 18 guys on it. Now, again, there's only so many starting spots. So my freshman year, I think I started 3 or 4 matches, and that's really not something you just want to have an opportunity. You want to have an opportunity to play every week. And so for me as a coach, that's really one of my commitments, is to just have enough people on the team that I can give matches each week.
Of course, being a head coach from a big state like Texas, what is that like recruiting in state versus going out of state?
Again, within Texas, tennis is not as big as football. So, in the past, when we've had a lot of different USTA and, different tournaments and stuff, there's been more tennis. Now, tennis has gotten smaller in Texas. And so the recruiting aspect, we're having to go even more out of state. And even for us, we're going international, which up until last year wasn't ever a thing. So like last year, we had 5 international guys on the team. So for us, location, obviously the closer the better when it comes to the women's side, because they want to be, close enough where they can go home and different things like that. But the availability on men's tennis, just to have a wider range geographically, is huge. So for me, it's trying to tackle every state, every country, just to find the best fit for us as a program.
What did that official visit look like at East Texas and getting to see the tennis facility?
Say that one more time.
Mhm. What does that official visit look like at East Texas getting to see the tennis facility?
It's going to be pretty much the same as every official visit. Obviously, they're going to come on a tour, see all the different academic buildings, the dorms. Um, they're going to meet pretty much every player on the team, just depending on the schedules of the guys if they're out of class. We're gonna, they're gonna have the opportunity to ask all the tennis questions, get an opportunity to, visit with admissions and things like that. But again, it's just about building a relationship, making sure that any questions that they have, any questions that I have about their tennis background get answered that day. And then a big part of it is just to make sure that they vibe with the tennis team, feel good about who the players are on the current team, and then just making sure the level's right. Because at the end of the day, like if we have people that come in that automatically are playing one, that most time they're going to feel like they want to go up a division. So that's really the thing for me, is just to look at the level, and then when I know the level, then they'll come on campus and meet the teams.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing those freshmen put on that Texas Baptist tennis uniform for the first time?
I mean, every freshman is able to, have that kind of realization of, oh, it's college athletics, but also at the end of the day, it is still the same sport. So whether, they have that nervous moment or not, it's just about being there and just helping them realize not to get nervous, just to treat it like another tennis match. And again, that's part of a coach's job, is just to instill confidence in their players. And so that's what we try and do as well.
What is it like as a head coach getting to see those seniors putting on that East Texas Baptist tennis uniform for the last time?
That's actually something that my first class is actually going to be graduating this year. So I've got one senior on the men's side and a senior on the women's side that's going to graduate. And, having seniors from a previous head coach, it's not really that different. But when you've had them all 4 years that you've been here, it's kind of like another big brother father moment. You kind of see their progression from freshman year to senior year. And so it's just a big thing for us. It's just to make sure that they know that they're appreciated. We appreciate the fact that they chose us, and not to end that relationship, just to keep it going 5 years down the road. If they need life advice, or if they want to come do tennis clinics with the team, we keep them involved with us. And so that brotherhood or family aspect does not stop at all.
What's it like as a head coach getting to see those players go on to the professional route and go into the ATP tennis tournament or even international?
Within Division III tennis, that's really not something that happens a whole lot. I think there's been 3 or 4 Division III players that go into professional tennis now. On the coaching side, that happens a lot more. So I've got a lot of different athletes that are now working at John Newcomb's Tennis Ranch or working at A&M Tennis Camp. I've got a student that's a high school coach in Longview that was one of our student assistants last year. And so, I mean, they kind of have this realization about different things that might have happened on the school. And they're like, Coach, I understand now. Like, that's why you did that. And I was like, well, as a coach, you see every perspective. As a player, you see your own perspective. And so it's those conversations that the light is kind of shed on, and they kind of understand now why things are done. And it's kind of like just a light bulb moment. And you kind of have that bond as a coach. Like, yeah, that's exactly why. So.
What advice would you give those incoming freshmen entering their first year of college tennis?
The big thing that I would have to say is just be humble. Experience means everything, even in tennis. Now, one of the things that I always preach is being a senior or being a freshman doesn't matter as long as you give your best effort. But being in those tough situations, seniors, they can handle it. They've been in that situation over and over and over. For freshmen, it takes a little bit to get used to. And then at the end of the day, like, the coach's big job is to put you where they feel you can be successful. It's not anything that they're trying to hold you back. They want you to be successful. And if they feel like you're going to be successful at 6 singles as opposed to 4 singles, go out there and absolutely take care of business. And if you keep winning your matches, they're going to progress you up the lineup. So hard work is everything, and so is being humble.
What advice would you give those seniors that are looking to play on the professional circuit after their collegiate tennis time?
Um, I think the big thing is you just got to see what the levels of tennis are. Obviously, with UTR and WTN ratings now, it's become very easy for um, kids to kind of have a reality check as they come out of college and realize, oh, maybe I'm not at the level to start that. And then especially with tennis, unless you're a top 100 player in the world, you're really not making any money. And so I think that's one of the big things is that's a reason you got your degree is so that you have a way that you're supporting yourself and you know your family. So especially in tennis, there's over I think 2,000 people that are ranked and even more that aren't even getting ranked. And so that's just the big pool of how many people try but aren't able to make it happen in the tennis world. So that degree is going to mean a ton whenever you get out of school.
What advice would you give those college tennis players out there looking to go from playing college tennis to coaching on the collegiate level?
A big thing is get a grad assistantship, contact every coach that you know, look on all of the ITA and NCAA websites for all those different opportunities. Even if it's not a tennis team per se, just being able to understand the business side and put those different things on your resume is going to mean a ton because no matter what sport you're on, the sport part is about 20% of your job and being on the court of the field, really doing the business side, the admission side, all of that stuff is where you're really going to be able to do most of your work and then learn the recruiting. Because as a college coach, no matter the sport, if you're a great recruiter, everything else falls in line. And so obviously you have to know your game that you're coaching, but knowing that recruiting aspect, knowing what you're selling is going to be the biggest attribute to being successful as a college coach.
What advice would you give those future head coaches out there looking to build their own tennis program?
Ask advice. Don't be prideful. Everybody obviously thinks they have the best way of doing things, but at the end of the day, you got to be able to talk with other people and bounce off ideas. There have been older coaches that have helped me tremendously. There have been players on my team that have helped me tremendously. And so it's just being humble enough to ask advice from different areas, even if it's another sport. Obviously, one big example I can give you is my former boss and I are both huge football fans. And there's been some great football coaches that, you know, they were great motivators. They helped all of their teams, but they also understood how to compete. And it doesn't matter the sport, it's all about the competitive aspect and just giving one more piece of effort. So I think just being able to be humble and ask other people how they do things and, just try and do different things, don't keep the same as a big part of it.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the East Texas Baptist Tennis Program at?
Yeah, so for Twitter and Instagram, if you look at ETBU_tennis, we're on both of those. You can see daily social media posts about, what the team's doing, all of our different matches there. So again, ETBU_tennis on Instagram and Twitter.
Thank you again, Coach Drew Lambert, for your interview. Best luck in your future with the East Texas Baptist Tennis Program.
Appreciate your time, Brandon. Go Tigers.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Drew Lambert, for your interview and best luck in your future.
Appreciate it.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.